Hello, everybody. What an honor to be here at Tech to Innovate, and especially to be back here in Delhi. About 10 years ago, we started recording and filming Playing for Change songs around the world, and this was one of the first cities we came to help spark the movement. So I just want to say it's an honor to be back here. Playing for Change was born out of the idea that no matter how many things in life divide us, they're never going to be as strong as the power of music to bring us back together again. And now to teach you guys a little bit more about Playing for Change, I'd love to start off with a short video. Let's see, can you guys play the first video?
I've got dreams to remember.
One day I was going to the recording studio and I saw this one musician and I just thought, wow, this guy's unbelievable. All of a sudden I just had this epiphany. The best music I ever heard in my life is on the way to the studio and not in the studio. And that's when I sort of had the idea for Playing for Change, which was to bring the studio to the people. What amazing stories. Grandpa Elliot, he's been a street musician in New Orleans, performing for about 60 years. I just was in love with him. I just thought his whole energy was the best. It had a lot more depth. It wasn't just entertainment.
All my life, I've been putting out love.
And then I wanted to make it more special than just individual performances. So have musicians from different locations play on the same songs. Stand By Me, I recorded and filmed in about 10 different countries. 60 million people watching that has an impact. It's a global project reaching a global audience with no filter. That's Playing for Change to YouTube, to the audience. So when we were recording Stand By Me, we drove out from Cape Town through all the shacks into Guguletu Township. One of the saddest places I'd ever seen. It just had so much despair. The next thing I know, they set up and they perform this music in the backyard. And the women and the little kids come out and they're singing and dancing. And you see this celebration, you know? This is the most powerful thing I'd ever seen. It went from so sad to so happy, and the only thing that changed was the music. So that is the exact same spot of the first Playing for Change music school. Each of our music schools are designed by the community, and they're owned and operated by the community.
I'm going for the first time to see the school. It's a dream that come true.
So it's really just about creating opportunities where there aren't any. We had the idea to do a fundraiser for the very first Playing for Change music school. So we assembled a lot of the different musicians we'd met, some of the best musicians from all over the world, brought them together, and that became the beginning of the Playing for Change band. They've now toured the world. It's been able to build where a lot of people want to be involved and be a part of it. I think that's the great thing about Playing for Change, is that it never ends, because there's always more songs to record, there's always more musicians to connect, and there's always more schools to build. They all work together for the same picture, which is really connect the world through music. Yeah. I was just thinking it's amazing technology, because when we made this video, Stand By Me had 60 million views, and I just checked recently and now it's 140 million views in over 200 countries. And our videos online have been viewed over 1 billion times, which really gets to show what this is all about, the power of music and technology. They work together.
We can create art, we can put it up on YouTube, and it can go directly to the audience without any filter. That's an amazing use of technology and music and humanity all working together. So I just want to give a little backstory on where did Playing for Change come from? How did this idea start? So, many years ago, I was young like most of you, and I was a recording engineer in New York City. And I would go to work one day, and we would be working on a hip-hop album. Then I would go to work the next day, and it would be a 70-piece orchestra. Then I would go to work the next day, and it would be Paul Simon. And I would watch all these different musicians, and I would see how much they love music. It was the most joyful part of their life. But then I would see them all just go home to completely different worlds. And I started thinking, wow, if they could see what I get to see, they would probably all be best friends. And maybe music is an amazing tool to connect people together. Then I was on my way to work one day in a subway station, and there were these two monks, painted all in white, wearing robes. One of them was playing a guitar. The other guy was singing in a language I didn't understand, and I imagine most people didn't understand. But I come down the platform in the subway, and nobody gets on the train. Everybody's watching this music. And I look around, and I see a homeless man, and a businessman, and a little girl, elderly woman, everybody just watching this music, so connected. And then as soon as the music ends, they get on the train and they go their separate ways. But I also realized during that performance that the things that made them different, they disappeared when the music played. The music transcended all the things that divide us. But I also realized the best music I ever heard in my life was on the way to the studio and not in the studio. So I said, oh man, I could spend my life in the studio. I'm never going to get to experience whatever that just was. So that was sort of the day Playing for Change was born. The idea that music transcends all the things that make us different and divides us. It makes us much more connected as a human race. But also that great music and great art, they're everywhere. And that we can combine technology to go out and document music in its most natural form. And we can bring the studio to the people. Instead of all the people go to the studio, let's bring the studio to the people. And then as we had this idea, I started thinking, wow, you know, it would be amazing to connect all the musicians together on the same song. So I could record a guitar player in America, then I could come to Delhi, and I could record a tabla player. And then I could go to South Africa and add a Zulu choir and put them all on the same song, so that people can see all these different cultures in their own natural environment, all unified together through music. But for any of this to mean anything, we needed to find the right song. So I was walking in the street in California one day, in Los Angeles, where I live, and I heard a street musician named Roger Ridley. And he sounded like Otis Redding, just one of the great soul singers. And I went up to him and I said, hey man, what are you doing singing on the street? You sound amazing. And he said, well, I come out here to be with the people. I'm in the joy business. And that's when I realized with a great song and with great energy, you can connect people all over the world. He was singing the song, Stand By Me. So I said, hey, if I come back with some recording equipment and some cameras, can I record you and film you playing the song? Then I'm going to go around the world, put headphones on musicians, and add them to the track. And I remember he looked at me like I was crazy. But he said, hey, if you show up, if you come here, I'll play the song. So we recorded him, and then that set us on our journey. Since that day, I've recorded music in about 65 different countries around the world. And what we do is record a musician in one location, outside, natural environment, record them, film them, and then go to the next place. The second place we went to for the Stand By Me video was in New Orleans. And that's when I met Grandpa Elliott, who you just saw a little bit in the video. He's a legendary street musician who's been performing on the streets for over 60 years. But he only gets to perform for the few people who walk by him. So when we came and record him and film him and bring the studio to him, put him on these songs around the world, the next thing you know, hundreds of millions of people all over the world get to experience Grandpa Elliott. They get to see New Orleans. They get to see this authentic music delivered directly to them, you know? And that's some of the power of what technology is it offers us an opportunity to see the world through the lens of music, through the lens of art, not through division, but through inspiration. And to me, that's the most powerful combination there is. If you want to make a better world, you need to inspire people to care more about each other. And that's what Playing for Change is all about. For us, the greatest tool to connect people has always been music. So as we were traveling, we would record and film musicians, and they would invite us in their homes, and they would feed us and play us their music. And we realized, you know what? These videos don't mean anything if we're not giving back to the people and their communities. So that's when we created the Playing for Change Foundation to build music and art schools for kids all over the world. And then, like our songs around the world, we use technology to put recording equipment and cameras in the schools so that all the kids can create music and play on songs together, so that kids in India can meet kids in America through music. And it's the greatest way to create an inspired human race, the one group we're all a part of. Now, in order to build our first school, we decided, well, what if we take all the musicians and that have never met, because we recorded them all in their own place, and we bring them all together onto the stage and create the Playing for Change band. And at first it was just an idea, but because they'd all seen these videos and millions of people had watched them, they all fell in love with each other, but they'd never met in person. So when they came together on the stage, it was just like amazing amount of energy and so much love, and like 9 different languages, and nobody could speak the same language, but music was the language. And I just remember watching it. It was so fascinating to see how easily people get along when the music starts to play and how connected they become. So that became the beginning of the Playing for Change band. So what we do is we travel the world, we record and film musicians, make songs around the world videos. We put them up directly on our YouTube channel, like I said, direct way to reach the people. Basically, music from the people, for the people, with no filter. And that's an amazing time that we all live in, where that's possible, you know? And so by creating these songs around the world, we then created the Playing for Change band of all these musicians who have now toured and played in over 25 different countries around the world. And we also got to create a way to give back to all the communities with the Playing for Change Foundation, building music and art schools around the world, and then connecting kids all over the world together through the lens of music and art. So there's a good summary of what Playing for Change is all about. And I'm just super excited to be able to share it with you guys and to be back here in Delhi, which is one of the roots of our project. Some of the greatest musicians in the world are from here, and it's an honor to be back to a place that's given us so much great music over the years. So thank you so much. And it's also a very easy opportunity to talk about music and technology, because without technology, everything I just said would never have happened. It only became possible because of technology. People around the world become connected. That became the Playing for Change movement. It's not a movement because I say it is. It's a movement because 1 billion people in over 200 countries say it is. And that's what this is all about, inspiring each other and creating a better world through music. So thank you so much.